episode 126 of Fourth and John. We are talking the offseason. Obviously, as Eagle fans, we have to be, we can't be homers over here. We have to talk about the offseason and other teams and what they did. We're actually looking at who won the offseason this year in the NFC East. I'd like to say the Eagles. I'm just thinking out loud at the moment. I'm not going to be a homer. We're gonna do this list. Do our due diligence. Go through each team. Evan, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Hey, I'm excited to talk about this. There's something that we've been talking about for a little bit. I feel like there's a lot of talk whenever you listen to the radio, some podcasts as well. I feel like a lot of people tell you what they think they want you to hear, and I feel like we gotta spread some truth today, Gayle.
I mean, we talked before the show, and you kind of you hinted at some things in terms of the Cowboys. Obviously, to set the tone, obviously the draft was a big part of the offseason. And if we're gonna start with a team that we love to hate, it's the Dallas Cowboys, and a player that was basically a big part of that draft night on the first round, CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb was a big part of the Dallas Cowboys draft. Obviously, he was on the minds of a lot of Eagle fans during the.
There was a lot of hurt Eagles fans that night, man. There was.
I think we had our hopes up high as CeeDee Lamb dropped in our vicinity. Obviously, we would have loved to move up. I don't think there was an opportunity. I think they would have to give up the farm, but the Cowboys got CeeDee Lamb. It is what it is. Looking at their draft class, you had CeeDee Lamb, Trayvon Diggs, another solid corner who dropped into the second round. Neville Gallimore. The Cowboys tried to, work on the interior of their defensive line. Reggie Robinson, Tyler, I can't pronounce his last name, out of Wisconsin. Getting some linemen was key. Bradley and I was another guy who slipped in the draft, but
you're kind of burying the lead here, Gayle. Let's address the elephant in the room.
Oh,
I mean, when you add another ginger to the NFC East, I mean, now we got something to sweat about.
I mean, they lost. It's almost like they lost one ginger, in the clapper. The clapper is gone. But then they gained another quarterback in Andy Dalton, who I think Andy Dalton is actually a solid depth piece to the Cowboys. Obviously, Eagle fans will look at us and picking a quarterback, Jalen Hurts in the second round, and watching the Cowboys go and get Andy Dalton. They might feel a certain way, but I feel like in the Cowboys sense, they got a piece to compete with our man. Not our man, but
You said it, man.
Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott. Obviously, he's the franchise guy, right? He just signed his franchise tag for what, 31 mil?
31 mil, yeah.
Probably he works that deal out. That still could be in the works, but it's interesting as Cowboy fans will say how good Dak is compared to Carson Wentz, but who got the contract first? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like if Dak is your man, why has it taken so long to pay the man?
You would think that they would be all over that. I mean, the Dallas Cowboy fans they love hyping up their own players, man. Let's not be naive here. They love feeling like their team is a lot better than it actually is. However, getting back to what you said, I kind of feel like the Cowboys had a really strong offseason, man. If we dive into that,
I'm gonna actually bring up their roster right quick. Hold on one second.
Mm-hmm. You look at, I mean, obviously, you talked about the number one thing will be the head coach. You got Jason Garrett. That was long in the tooth for a long time. You bring in a veteran head coach, Mike McCarthy, who I'm not entirely sold on for this Dallas team, but no doubt is a veteran coach, knows how to operate a locker room. And on top of that, you look at all the different pieces that they've added. I mean, you said CeeDee Lamb. They added Gerald McCoy. You look at Clinton Dix, Don Terry Poe. Another guy, Aldon Smith. He hasn't been in the league since 2015. Has emerged back on the scene.
I think it's interesting that it's losing their head coach and then gaining a Mike McCarthy. For me, that's a win in the Cowboys book.
That's a net win.
We've been talking about the Cowboys in terms of always. We felt like he was the puppet master. I mean, obviously, he wasn't really calling the shots per se, but now we have a coach that probably has a little bit more respect. I feel like the locker room kind of got tired of his message moving down the line. I mean, how many times can a dude clap? But I feel like
when nothing good is going on and all he's doing is clapping.
Yeah, but I think Mike McCarthy, I think he could set the tone for this offense. With the weapons that they have. I mean, you're talking about Amari Cooper,
CeeDee Lamb, Zeke.
Zeke, Michael Gallup. Mm-hmm. I think those are some really good options for Dak Prescott. They shored up the middle a little bit with Gerald McCoy, Dontae Poe. They have Tristan Hill there as well.
Right. They lost a little bit of depth on the offensive line.
I think losing Robert Quinn was a loss for them. Who else did they lose? They lost Jason
Byron Jones,
Malik Collins, Michael Bennett. So they did lose some pieces off that defensive front, gained some defensive pieces up the middle. But Jason Witten was pretty, he was getting long in the tooth around the Cobb.
That was one that really blew me away. A guy that Jason Witten, just looking taking a step back and looking at the story of it. Jason Witten was a lifetime Cowboy for the longest time. And then all of a sudden he retires, goes into broadcasting and discovers he's hot garbage at that. So he's just going to jump back on the field to avoid anybody talking bad about his broadcasting career. Jumps back on the Cowboys because they need help. You would think if the Cowboys are done with him that would just be the end of his career. But, it's a little bit surprising to see that he's going to be heading to Las Vegas. Maybe he's, he's looking forward to hitting the strip maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
it's funny. Puga's in the comments here. We do have live viewers at the moment. But Puga says, is Dak Kirk Cousins 2.0? I think Dak has a little bit more of
a skill set.
He's a little bit more gutsier than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins can put up those stats, but I think Dak can come up big in big games sometimes. But yeah, I think overall, they're both
as far as contracts are concerned, he's going to end up getting overpaid. So in that sense, he is very similar to Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, but overall. We were talking about the Dallas Cowboys prior to the show, and what did you say? What did you say?
Listen, man. Me and you all day. We've been going through all the NFC East teams. Pat, what do you say?
Should we wait to the end?
Should we go through them all?
Should we go through them all? I think we should.
Let's go through them all.
Because if we give it away now, I think that would be a disservice to
right. No, I agree.
Marcus Walker from YouTube says Dak has a higher ceiling than Kirk.
Got with a Carson Wentz AV asking this question.
Who's better, Carson or Watts? I'm going Carson Wentz.
I'm going Carson as well. Carson's got the clutch gene in my eye.
No homer either. Moving right along. Let's go to the
New York Giants, New York Football Giants.
Hold on, getting the screen up.
I think that's another thing that we have to really acknowledge in this in this division is the fact that the Eagles are the only one in this entire division that's moving forward with the head coach from the previous season. You look at the New York Giants, we got Joe Judge heading in. He's another Belichick coaching tree guy. Don't really know what to think of him, to be honest with you. He's kind of a guy that flew under the radar in Belichick's regime, as far as I'm concerned. I didn't know much about him.
I am the judge, the jury, and the executioner.
We are for sure going to get to know him. He's got a better haircut than Ben McAdoo. I'll give him that.
Well, I think just having a Bill Belichick disciple in the house, he brings a level of professionalism. I think the Giants really need to come together as a team. You have a young quarterback in Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones still looking goofy. You thought Eli Manning was goofy, and here comes Daniel Jones. No hate, but obviously Daniel Jones showed some flashes as a young player. Had his issues protecting the football. Shout out to Malcolm Jenkins for coming up with that fumble cover, and Fletcher Cox going in on that. But I think they're based around a solid running back and superstar in Saquon Barkley. I mean, dude's lights out. Obviously, their offense is based around him. They brought in Deion Lewis, a guy that can give them something in the passing game. Scat back, change of pace. Dan Jones has his weapons in Darius Slayton, Golden Tate, and Sterling Shepard. I think those are some solid weapons out there. Defensively, they brought back Leonard Williams. They gave us some draft picks for Leonard Williams, so you knew that they had to bring him back. It's not a franchise tag, but Bradbury, a solid corner.
That's a really big addition for them for sure.
And David Gettleman, he has some ties to Bradbury, and then Blake Martinez, a solid linebacker who can solidify the middle of the field. I'm not going to say he's great in coverage, but he's can solidify them in the middle. Overall, how are you feeling about the Giants?
The Giants, I feel like they really shored up the offensive line position. That's what it seemed to me they really tackled in the in the draft this year. However, I don't really feel like they have the tools that necessarily can contribute to a really successful offense. I don't think that they have, outside of Saquon Barkley. I mean, Darius Slayton might take a second step, year two, but I don't think that he's going to be an elite type of receiver, at least yet in his career. I think that they're kind of looking beyond this year, the Giants. I think that they're kind of planning for the following year to kind of be their year to get stuff in gear.
Yeah, I think the big thing for them. I mean, if we have the Giants draft class. I think it was huge for them to get Andrew Thomas out of Georgia. It was the 4th overall pick of the draft. I think it solidifies. Their offensive line has had issues. Shout out to Giants Wire for the awesome graphic.
Yes, yeah.
They picked up Xavier McKinney. He's solid in the box. They doubled down on Matt Pert out of UConn. Darnay Holmes, a scrapper cornerback that I wanted the Eagles to pick up. Overall, they had a solid draft. But I think Andrew Thomas, that was a home run for them.
There was a lot of late round guys for that. If you look at that, they ended up getting 3 linebackers in the 7th round. I feel like they ended up getting a lot of position fill players, kind of depth players, but like no one that really jumps off the page at you.
But if looking at their overall depth, I mean, you got Nate Solder. I thought he was he was overrated. He still hasn't lived up to that contract that he's gotten. Obviously, Will Hernandez, a decent piece, playing left guard. You got Spencer Pulley playing center. Kevin Zeitler, and then Andrew Thomas. I think you want to protect Daniel Jones, and I feel like that's what they did.
You have an investment in a young quarterback. That's exactly what you got to do. I mean, it's exactly the type of formula with any team that drafts a quarterback. We did it with Dillard, after Wentz. Every team's got to shore up that line once you get your franchise guy.
Yeah, they brought in Kyle Fackrell out of Green Bay. They're pretty stout up front with Dexter Lawrence, Dalvin Tomlinson, and then Leonard Williams. But overall, if you look at the whole defense as a whole, still you're wondering what they bring to the table as an overall defense. A lot of young pieces, though.
Yeah, they're definitely moving in a younger direction, which is similar in the type of approach the Eagles are taking. But I think the Eagles have more effective weapons within their roster.
Why always got to bring it back to the Eagles?
We are an Eagles podcast. I saw an interesting question that popped up from Bleeding Green Hive.
Okay.
Talking about 3 quarterbacks within the division. Who's the best 3 years from now? Dak, Daniel Jones, or Dwayne Haskins?
3 years from now, who's the best QB? Dak, Jones, or Haskins?
Haskins hasn't shown me the stuff to be able to compete. But like Jones is kind of like iffy too. I think the safe answer would be Dak. But there's potential for Daniel Jones to ball out if they get some pieces around him.
I'd go in that order. I mean, in theory, like if you hit the protection that they want for Jones, I could see Jones, having a breakout. Because has Dak reached his ceiling? You know what I mean?
don't know.
Like, is Jones' potential a little bit greater 3 years from now? If you're thinking that way, it could be Jones. And don't count Haskins out. I think he's still young. Showed some flashes last season.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's a whole new head coach now. Let's see how they how they go moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to our favorite team, the Washington racial name.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they're flying under the radar with everything that's going on. They kind of have been strangely quiet during this time.
What's up, Mark? Karate Mark in the chat. It's funny. We're talking about Washington. Like we're not going to go on that. Like it's just funny that they continue to hold close that name.
That name. And just on top of them, like I saw a couple weeks ago, them putting out some statements and how they don't stand for racism, and just like, all right, kind of a little eye roll right there.
And
like,
people are like, "Yo, is this you?"
Exactly.
Is this you? Bringing up Washington.
The Washington Redskins. They ended up adding Kendall Fuller. You look at Kevin Pierre-Louis from the Bears, Sean Davis, Wes Schweitzer. Kendall Fuller to me is a solid depth guy.
I think he's a good piece, man. Kendall Fuller. The big talk. You're talking Chase Young, bringing in Chase Young through the draft. We'll go to their draft real quick.
Yeah, people are talking that arguably he's going to be the best player that ends up emerging from this draft, and to think that that's going to be a force that's we have to deal with twice a year. That's kind of makes you shudder a little bit.
I mean, you're looking at their roster, dude. The defensive line up front: Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Ryan Kerrigan, and Chase Young, bro. I mean, that's pretty beastly. Montez Sweat was another, massively regarded guy coming out. Last year. You got Kendall Fuller, Fabian Moreau.
You look at Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Ryan Kerrigan, Chase Young. Those are all first-round picks as well. Yeah,
they do have some of our garbage out there. Ronald Darby, shout out to Toast Man. But overall, defensively, I feel like they're pretty solid up front. They did
and Landon Collins as well.
Yeah. Offensively, they had Brandon Sheriff to solidify that offensive line. Morgan Moses, Jeremy Sprinkle at tight end. Let's see. They lost Trent Williams in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing right there, losing Trent. They traded Trent for a 5th round pick and a 2021 3rd round pick. Obviously, he left on bad terms. They also lost Chris Thompson, Colt McCoy, Donald Penn, and one player that Washington had lost. I mean, do you know who they lost? I mean, he's very key. Very key to victory for the Washington racial names.
Lay it on me.
Wendell Smallwood, bro.
Oh my goodness, not Wendell.
Yeah, they lost.
Jesus. Oh my God.
Shout out to Wendell, man. Old Navy, holding it down. You know what I mean? But overall, I mean, how are you feeling about how the Washington did in the offseason?
Honestly, I really do. I think that Washington is a team that is on the uptick. I think the entire division ultimately is, but I think Washington is a team that is really finally starting to move in the right direction. I feel like they're a team that like the rest of the NFC East has looked at for the past decade plus, and it's just kind of like been a team that's just been there, kind of like a you could count on them being in the bottom half of the division every year. Aside from the 1 year that they went crazy with RG3, but like it's a team that is just perennially. It's like the Browns light is what we've had in our division for a little bit now, and I think that adding Ron Rivera, I think adding that entire beastly defensive line like that, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with, that D line, and then you add the protection behind them with their newly upgraded secondary. Like that defense could be legit this season.
And McLaurin, as rookie, really put in work. You saw what he did all across the league. Put in work.
Mm-hmm.
He was Scary Terry. Yeah, Scary Terry is going to be a problem. And Dwayne, he's going to be a solid weapon for Dwayne Haskins.
Another guy that fell deeper in the draft, Antonio Gandy Golden. That was a guy that I really wanted the Eagles to get on day 3, maybe even the end of day 2. And, man, I would have just been all over the Eagles having him, but he ended up falling to the Redskins, and now we're gonna have to deal with him in the division.
And then in the 3rd round, Antonio Gibson, who he's a crossbreed wide receiver and running back, a solid player who I wanted the Eagles to draft. Really solid player. It was funny while we were watching the draft live stream. Antonio Gandy Golden's college roommate was in the draft chat with us. He was watching it.
Wow.
With this, and like, what are the chances? And he's like, "Yo, that's my roommate, dude." He's like, "I want us to draft him," and then he went off the board.
That's crazy.
But I thought overall, I thought Washington did a pretty decent job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you look at the Eagles off season with the addition of Darius Slay. Jalen Reagor on the other side of the ball. At least we have a head coach that's staying put. We're the only team in the division that's still got our head coach from last season. But now to the point that kind of I've been getting at, this entire episode.
We can't. You're about to give up the answer right quick. Can we talk about the Eagles right quick?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I mean, this guy was ready to give up the goods early, man. But let's look at the draft. Obviously, Jalen Reagor was a huge piece of the puzzle. It was torn amongst Eagles Nation in terms of who was the guy. Who's the guy at number 21? They got their versatile speedster in round 2, shocked the nation, football nation, drafting Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. Davion Taylor out of Colorado.
I really like that.
He's a raw prospect. I feel like he has a lot of upside there. He's just got to get it put it together. Kayvon Wallace, another fan favorite out of Clemson, could be a potential solid player at safety. move him around, maybe play him at linebacker. Jack Driscoll, another solid piece to add to the offensive line. John Hightower, vertical threat. Could he be a one-trick pony, or could he give us more than that? Sean Bradley, a solid
boy
solid piece for depth. Can challenge at the linebacker position. You can groom him down the road. Quez Watkins, another vertical weapon. The Eagles did a lot of trading around in the back end of the draft, but Prince Hogo out of Auburn, another guy, Wanago, fell in the draft. I think some injuries had to do with that. Casey Tuhl, another guy that they can develop back in the roster. But you talked about the man earlier, Darius Slay. Having Darius Slay in the mix finally
changes everything.
Finally, a guy who can cover opposing teams. Number one,
do great things.
Wide receiver. Yeah, bro. I feel like even if he locks down players on one side of the field, you can roll coverage to the other side, knowing that you have a player like this that could leave on an island. We think about Jim Schwartz leaving guys on islands that didn't need to be on islands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Now you have a guy that could
paging Ronald Darby.
could be left on an island and it's good.
And he could lock down the whole side of the field. That's something that we haven't had in this defense for far too long.
Wow, we got tons of questions in the comments. We will be getting to those questions throughout the show. Let me get back to some of this. I think overall, just adding, Darius Slay really helps the defense. And we're talking about defense. Javon Hargraves.
Dude's built like a Mack truck.
This guy really will set the tone for the middle of this defense alongside with Fletcher Cox. I feel like the penetration that we're gonna get from these dudes up the middle, I think it's gonna be intense. I think Eagle fans really have to. I think Eagle fans really have to think about, teams are double teaming Fletcher Cox, right?
Yeah.
We have Hargraves. He has the ability to beat one-on-one situations. If we get that from Javon Hargraves, it's a win, man.
We got two guys penetrating. And then the whole middle hole was completely wide open.
And then everyone forgets about Malik.
Yeah, man. It's one of those things that, it was a guy that flew under the radar last year just because of the early injury.
So, in theory, you have a guy coming back, giving you something. But overall, there's some pieces that we brought in. And I think overall, I think it's a solid team. Brandon Brooks has mentioned that this is the best team. He didn't get to finish, but he said this is the most talented team that he's seen since he's got here.
Yeah, this is a team that I really think that is just refreshing to see. As far as I really had concerns after the Eagles won the Super Bowl that they were kind of going to take the Phillies route that everyone was afraid of, or the Flyers, or Philadelphia has this sense of we hang on to players for too long. And I was glad to see this year it really started to seem like we were heading in a younger direction, heading in a faster direction. So it's just it's a refreshing type of roster to have a new generation of players come onto it.
If you're gonna look for some kind of weaknesses, you look at the linebacker position. We have T.J. Edwards, who was an undrafted free agent. Now you're starting linebacker at the moment. Sean Bradley, drafted in
Duke Riley
of the draft. Duke Riley, another journeyman linebacker we got last year.
You hope that Davian Taylor can step into that position and take over. But at that point, if Davian Taylor ends up going down, then, it's just the journeyman is his depth.
Jatavius Brown, we brought over from the Chargers, Alex Singleton. So I mean, it's a really young core of linebackers, guys with versatile. They're pretty. There's some speedy guys on the back. Davion Taylor, Duke Riley, Jatavius Brown, really fast players.
Yeah.
Gary, a converted safety who's playing linebacker. I mean, you don't. The thing that concerns you are those guys. Can they get eaten up in the run? Possibly. They're very. Duke Riley's an athletic linebacker. Davion Taylor is all over the field. So it'll be interesting. I still think if you're looking at this core group of guys, I think you can add some kind of veteran presence in this mix. Any other positions that you're looking at that could use some work on the back end here?
Just the other thing that I'm eager to see how the whole Jalen Mills move to safety really ends up going. We kind of have a question mark there. I mean, Rodney McLeod's a guy that's been there I'm not worried about Rodney McLeod, but as far as whether it's going to be Kayvon Wallace or Jalen Mills as the second safety, I don't know. I'm interested to see. I'm glad that there will be competition because I think competition will breed, better play. But it's kind of a toss-up.
I think Jalen Mills is if I'm going to say question mark, I think he's been a contributor, but I also feel like he's now he's in a different position which he played in college.
Yeah,
I think that's why he's the question mark.
For sure.
Obviously, they brought him back. He does have his own swaggery.
Yeah.
If you got the swag, that means it's like CB1 swag. He's got swag. He's got a demeanor that I feel like feeds off into the locker room. So I feel like they like him. They also brought in Will Parks as well. Nickel Roby Coleman. So I think you're getting some pieces in the back end of you're getting some pieces to move in and out, bring in to compete.
And you ended up taking out Prime's boy too, didn't you?
Oh, Nate Gary.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the great Nate Gary.
I think I do have Nate Gary still in there now. Maybe I did take him out. Yeah. I mean, but we call him White Snake around here. That's it. That is his nickname That is his nickname in the locker room. So interesting enough.
Yeah. Bragante. You want to try pronouncing that? Bragante. He's also agreeing that the safety position they got a lot to prove this year. I agree. That's one of the question marks heading into this year for sure. Jannard Avery, I feel like, is a guy that we haven't been talking about enough. What's your thoughts on Jannard? Can he contribute this year?
I think with the Eagles giving up, was a fourth round pick for him, and not him not really having a role last season. I think they have a plan. This is what they said that they have a plan in place for Jannard Avery. I'm hoping to see it. See if you think about. I mean, if you're looking at that, the roster here. He's backing up Derek Barnett, Casey Toolhill's the next guy. Osman is the next guy. Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat. I feel like Josh Sweat is going to give you something.
Yeah.
I still don't know what he brings to the table. I still feel like he needs to get stronger.
I still have faith in Hassan Ridgeway as well. I feel like that's another guy that is still developing well.
Yeah, at D tackle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deshaun Hall got injured, but he did show something in preseason last year. So, I mean, overall, I think Jannard Avery. This is the year to put something on tape for us.
What about Calico State University? He wants to know between Mills, McLeod, Parks, and Wallace, do they keep everybody?
Mills, McLeod, Wallace, and Parks. For the season.
I think they do.
Yeah,
I think as far as depth is concerned, you have to.
Wallace isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, McLeod's not going anywhere.
McLeod's not going anywhere. Mills is definitely a depth guy,
Yeah.
I mean,
if anybody were to be moved from that group, it'd probably be Will Parks.
Or but they're high on him.
Yeah.
And he's a Philly local.
That's true.
I just feel like when you have Mills on the roster, you have a backup corner and you have a potential safety.
Yeah, he's a guy that's he's a versatile player that can end up covering many positions, wearing many hats.
And Brigante says we have to. Jason Sparks from Facebook says, when lacking talented linebackers, what position would be able to compensate for lack of talent? Safety, D-line, similar to when you have a great D-line, it compensates for the lack of cornerback talent.
Yeah, I think everything that Malcolm Jenkins brought to the table in previous years is a testament to that. I think having a safety that could drop down to the linebacker position is an enormous thing to have on your team. I mean, you look at like a lot of a large fraction of Malcolm Jenkins' snaps was actually played at linebacker. So like that's a guy that was just that. Yeah, to answer your question, I think safety would be the best complement to a lack at linebacker.
Yeah, but I also think that having a talented D line get to the quarterback fast enough, like you don't have to worry about.
Yeah,
I mean, you're having Fletcher Cox and Hargraves in front of you as a linebacker. For you, that's a luxury. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to worry about linemen rolling up on you when you have a guy like Fletcher Cox in front.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I hand in hand, having a solid safety group and corners. The Eagles do not value linebacker.
Don't have to tell me twice, man. I mean, we've seen that for the entire time that I've been alive. That's been the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's still interesting to see what they do. At linebacker, are they going to bring back our boy Nigel Bradham? Yeah,
I don't know. And another big name that's out there as well, still Jamal Adams.
Like I feel like it's an opportunity to Jamal Adams trade magically happens. Does J Mills go back to we've said in our live stream? I said if your parents were bringing you into the mall, they'd say you pick up Jamal Adams, and they're like, "Do you got Jamal Adams money?" Because you're thinking about Darius Slay getting paid, Fletcher Cox getting paid, and Jamal Adams getting paid. I mean,
the Rams were able to swing something like that not too last year, weren't they? With Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald, and what do you think?
I don't know, man. I don't know if we got Jamal Adams money.
All right.
But I'm
still interested to see where he ends up, though, because that is a big time name that is still out and about.
So I mean, after going, I mean, we went heavy into the Eagles, obviously, or Eagles podcast here. But Evan, like I said, was talking about a certain team, how he was very intrigued, and then the main question of this podcast was who won the offseason. Who won the offseason in the NFC East? In the comments, we'd like to see what you have to say.
I just want to say I love you guys. I love you guys. I think the Cowboys won the offseason, man.
This guy.
I said it. The Cowboys, in my mind, man, they had just objectively looking at the roster, all the changes that they made. I think that they have a very explosive wide receiver core. I mean, you could throw me under the bus all you want, Mr. Saunders. You said before this show even started how electrifying this Cowboys wide receiver core. I feel disgusting, the things that are coming out of my mouth right now. It's actually making me gag. But I'm being honest, and I feel like there's a lot of shows in the Philadelphia area that would sit here and tell you that, the Eagles, they did the best, and they just went. I'm not telling you what you just want to hear. I'm giving you my objective opinion. I think the Eagles had the second best offseason in the NFC East.
They did get hot Clinton Dix too.
Mm-hmm.
Jason off the top rope with the reminder.
Yep.
I thought the Cowboys did a phenomenal job. They got some talented older pieces.
Yeah. Aldon Smith pulling him out of the
Terry Poe, Gerald McCoy.
Yeah.
I think those guys are. I think the guys are a little bit longer in the tooth. They did lose Travis Frederick. Byron Jones.
Yep. Yeah, that was a huge loss.
I really do feel like the Eagles did a great job bringing in some pieces to compete, man. Like Hargraves, he doesn't get talked about as enough. I feel like that kind of push up the middle is going to be huge for this offense, for this defense. I think, collapse in the pocket is so huge for this defense. And now you have a corner who can hold his own. I think those two pieces really solidify the defense. I think losing to Malcolm Jenkins hurts, but I think offensively gaining the weapons that we did. I mean, Jalen Reagor and Deshaun Jackson in the same offense, if healthy, if Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert in the same,
I hear what you're saying, but I feel like you need to answer the question, Mr. Saunders. Who won the offseason in your eyes?
No, I really do feel like
the Eagles. Okay. At least maybe it'll just be 4th and Gayle next week if I'm burned at the stake.
No homer, no homer. I feel like they did. I think they did a solid job, but I think losing. If we're going to add injuries, if you're losing
Brandon
Brooks, that's
devastating.
Is that part of the offseason?
I would think so.
Then you could say it might be a tie.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're going to add injury, I mean they did lose. They did lose Frederick as well.
That is such an unfortunate thing too, man. Just like for like a freak injury like that to happen. It's one thing if it happened during training or during training camp or just during preseason, but like to have him go down before like anything even starts, like that's just a real kick.
Yeah. And Jason Sparks makes a good comment. He's upgrading the D-line, adding Slay will put pressure on the QBs around the league. It's very, very, very true. Marcus Walker from YouTube, he said Ron's mindset and defensive mind makes me nervous about Washington. I think he did coach for the Eagles as well, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like he brings a certain edge defensively to that group. I believe that. I mean, I think they were just really, they had some things going on. Kevin Trump from YouTube, over under 1,500 all-purpose yards for Sanders, over under 8 T's for Sanders. And by the way, Kevin, that this is Kevin's real name. Yep.
I think I would take the over. I might take the over for both. I think 800 yards rushing, and it's going to be close. It'll be close to 1,500 all-purpose yards, but I'll give him the nod, the over.
Over under. I'm going to go over. I think
800 yard. I think 800 to 1,000 yards rushing, and 500 receiving yards. I think that's a possibility.
Or slightly under 1,500. TDs. I'm gonna go over 8. 9 touchdowns on the season. I think Miles Sanders has the opportunity to really just expand on what he did last season. I think you're looking at a guy who really, I felt like he started to just get it. Like in the beginning of the season, you had people, which was really weird. You had people like all over Eagles Nation saying, he's hitting the wrong holes. He doesn't have it. Like, bro, it's like the first week of the year. So I feel like Miles Sanders has definitely gained some confidence from last season. I feel he'll build on that.
Yeah, I think he has a skill set to really take it to the next level. And I think that Doug Pederson is good at recognizing the strengths in his players. And I think that he, once he sees all of the different things that Miles Sanders is capable of, I think he'll just continue to build the playbook around him as well.
Yeah. But overall, so we just so I get this right, you had Cowboys winning the offseason. I had Cowboys.
And don't get it twisted. That doesn't mean I think the Cowboys win the division this year. I'm simply saying from an improvement standpoint from last season, yeah. That's I got the.
Who do we have picking up the back end? Giants or Washington?
Who did the worst out of all of them? I would say the Giants.
Yeah.
I like what the Redskins did with Ron Rivera, with adding Chase Young and bolstering up that defensive line.
Yeah. I can dig that. Usually it's CBS Sports put out their list of top 10 coaches in the NFL, and I work for Viacom, so Viacom CBS. So me ripping in CBS, that's not a good thing for me. But looking at this list obviously triggered some Eagle fans across Eagles Nation. If you looked on Eagles Twitter, everyone's freaking out about, like, how could you have Doug Pederson at number 9?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring up the clip for that. This young whippersnapper, Sean Wagner, he caught the wrath of Eagles Nation. But I feel like when people are surprised, I don't get why there's when they get ratioed, they're like surprised, like
at the fact that they got ratioed when they have a real blasphemous type of opinion.
Like, bro, like, I mean, did you not
Did you listen to the words that you said?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of your mouth? Hold on. We got our man Sean Wagner with
I'll just address the Doug Pederson criticism, because frankly, when this list was tweeted out, just an hour or so ago, Eagles fans are the ones that latched on. They're really the only group of fans right now that are really criticizing the list. And they're specifically pointing to Sean McVay being at number 6, 3 spots ahead of Doug Pederson at number 9. And look, the reason I would say is the reason Eagles fans are coming after me is they're saying, look, Doug Pederson beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Sean McVay's team did not play at all well in the Super Bowl, and they lost the game with their offense completely choking. And I'm not going to disagree that Doug Pederson's resume is very spectacular, and he has the ring that Sean McVay came so close to getting. But I didn't want this list to turn into a list of the coaches with the most rings. I think there's more nuance than just championships, and I think Sean McVay obviously has only been coaching for 3 years. He's going to have time to get that championship. And for all the criticism that McVay has gotten recently, he still has the highest winning percentage of any single coach on this list. He took a ton of flack for going 9-7 in 2019. Doug Pederson has gone 9-7 in back-to-back seasons. So I guess the reason why I have Doug Pederson at 9, obviously a great coach, and Sean McVay at number 6, 3 spots ahead of him, is that I'm not trying to look at this through the lens of 1 or 2 games. I'm trying to take a more holistic approach and looking at their complete body of work. And I think Sean McVay has had more success in the regular season. A couple different paths go his way. Maybe he gets that Super Bowl ring in the years to come. So that's why I have McVay over Doug Pederson.
To be fair, Sean, you could have put Doug Pederson at number 1. The Philly faithful would have found something to take you to task for. They would have been in the mentions either way.
Oh, hardy, har. You know what? And it just to me smells of a box score reader. He talks about the different nuances than just winning a ring. That to me says that this guy just looked through all the box scores and didn't really put together the pieces, as far as Doug Pederson was working with a completely decimated roster and was still able to get this team into the playoffs. That wasn't a regular 9-7. That was a ragtag team that was able to get into the playoffs.
And Brigante says, how many times has Sean McVay beat Doug Pederson? And it's just like, obviously, like, in terms of like thinking about a CBS Sports room, and if I'm running the room, I say, what can we do to piss off Eagle fans?
They know that we react as well. I mean, that's not a secret.
Like, Eagle fans are the ones that are going to come to these comments and blow ish up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they did a great job, because now we here on a Eagles podcast are talking about young man's whack ass tweet. Put him in the bathroom, obviously.
That's what I'm saying.
I just think, like, I mean, let's go back to the list here.
Mm-hmm.
Bring up the list.
I got it.
Got it. I mean, let's Bill Belichick. Obviously,
that's no arguments there. I mean, that guy, the resume speaks for itself.
We're gonna bring up his resume here. Bill Belichick, right? 273 wins, 126 losses. I mean, look at his 6 Super Bowls, 9 appearances. I mean,
nice.
That's easy breezy.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the list up one more time, man.
Yep. Hold on. Oh.
Andy Reid.
Yep.
Uncle Fat Andy Reid, our favorite uncle. I love Andy Reid.
I do too.
He finally got his Super Bowl, got the monkey off his back. Look at his stats here. You know,
that's a great regular season winning percentage. First of all,
he's had a hell of a career. Finally got his. Were you happy for Andy Reid winning?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like, I feel like that, and like, you know, people would be lying if they said that, like, if Andy had gotten that Super Bowl before Doug Pederson, there would be some bitterness there. But honestly, after the Eagles won that Super Bowl, that, like, the thoughts of Andy Reid and any sort of, like, bad blood that I had that was still existing within me, that all went out the window. Like, as soon as the Eagles won that Super Bowl, I really truly wished the best for Andy Reid. I'm so happy that he won that Super Bowl. Good for him. I'm happy for him.
Yeah, now back to the list, my friend. John Harbaugh. Like, so far we're 3 for 3. I think Harbaugh.
He's been proven with multiple different quarterbacks now. I mean, you look at he was able to put together a Super Bowl roster with Joe Flacco, and that whole era kind of pittered out. And then now he's got a new franchise guy, arguably the best quarterback in the league right now, in Lamar Jackson. And I think that he has done a very good job at building a playbook around Lamar and just giving him the keys and letting him take over.
Now, getting back to the list, we have
Mr. Bountygate himself.
Yeah, Sean Payton. Here's Sean Payton's stats here. He's got a great regular season winning percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Postseason 8-7, career 139, 84. Pretty solid career, and he's 1-0 in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
Are we 4 for 4? We're okay with that?
I'm fine with that. I think Sean Payton is a very good coach.
Here's where it gets the trickeration starts.
Go back to the list. We've got this one made no sense to me whatsoever. Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle. I think Shanahan is it's kind of like he's a new up and comer.
Yeah.
He made it to the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously. He had a solid defense.
Well, what is his coaching record though? What kind of stats have we? Oh, hold on a second here. So 23-25. He's got a losing regular season record. Okay.
Yep.
Career record, if you include the postseason, also a losing. The Super Bowl that he played in, didn't win it.
Hey, can you tell me what his career record was?
His career record? Oh, yeah. He's got 25 wins and 26 losses. So does that blow off the page to you? Is that something that is just, you just can't believe it?
Can you say it one more time?
25 and 26. That's exactly how I feel. How does this man end up on 5th at the list? I get it. I get he was on. They went to the Super Bowl last year, but let's be realistic about this. Let's take a step back and look at what he's done.
Yeah, I mean, I'm for potential. Yeah, I think he's shown some.
I think I think he's one of the next coaches to emerge and come up in this league. I think he's got potential.
How about back to the list?
Yeah. Another head scratcher. This is another one that they mentioned in the that young man mentioned in the clip, just talking about a lot of Eagles fans were out there complaining that Sean McVay was at 6 while Doug was at 9. You know, you look at Sean. He was. I feel like Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay are very similar in the fact that the league fell in love with them very quickly because they represented this new direction that the league was going in, this new flavor. And I mean, everyone remembers the Super Bowl versus the Patriots. The score was 13-3. I mean, man, they talked about, you know, one of the best offenses ever, and put up 3 points.
Regular season 33-15. He was talking about Lil Mans was talking about his winning percentage in the regular season. Postseason, he's 2-2. He's batting 500. Career 35-17. 0-1 in the Super Bowl. Repeat. Hey, what did I say? 0-1 in the Super Bowl.
0-1. 0 Super Bowls.
How many points did he put up? How many touchdowns did he put up in the Super Bowl?
That was 0 touchdowns, actually.
0.
1 kick. Yeah.
0 touchdowns. Awesome.
But, you know, he remembers that play from
great memory.
December 13th, 1994. He remembers that.
Polk High versus Santa Clara or something. Back to the list.
Yes. Here's another one that is just another head scratcher, man. Like Mike Tomlin. Like, to me, that one was like, if you had said Mike Tomlin maybe 6-7 years ago, I would agree with you. But that was my face when I saw Mike Tomlin on that list.
Let's get to Mike Tomlin's stats. Regular season, 133 wins.
It's impressive.
It's impressive. Postseason, again, better than, spiky hair, Sean McVay. Career, 140. I mean, solid. He's 1-1 in the Super Bowl. I think Mans needs more props. He needs to move up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ahead of both of McVay and Shanahan. Back to the list. Another guy who I think he does deserve to be on the list. The gum chewer. I believe he's the oldest head coach in the league currently. Pete Carroll. Yeah, he's if all cards are out on the table, that guy is partial to the reason that got me into college football. I love that USC team where he was head coach. Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush. I've always been a fan of Pete Carroll. Solid team. Pete Carroll stats: regular season 596, postseason 11-9.
Mm-hmm.
Solid coach in college, 83-19 NFL.
Mm-hmm. And that
99 losses, 1-1 in the Super Bowl, and he would have been 2-0 if he would have just given Marshawn Lynch the ball.
Yeah, and he'd also probably be higher on this list as well.
And still, they got Lil Mans has Shanahan and McVay over these guys. I think his holistic approach is whack to me. Okay, back to the list.
Yes, there he is, Mr. Dougie P. Finally, at number 9. Had to wait a little while, but
I mean, say that one more time.
Dougie P.
Yeah,
we had to wait way too long.
I mean, put respect on man's name. I mean, dude won a Super Bowl with his quarterback going down. You know, he won it with a backup quarterback. Dougie P has, showed his worth. He's had some injured teams.
He put together a roster last year that was just a bunch of ragtag guys. Somehow won the division still.
Look at Dougie P's record here. 38-26, 594 winning percentage. Postseason.
That's a great postseason.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, postseason. That's 4-2.
4-2 in the postseason. Career 42-28. And Evan, read out the last stat.
Oh, that's my favorite one. 1-0 in the Super Bowl. Not to be confused with the reverse of that with multiple coaches in front of him.
I mean, at the end of the day, like I really feel like you as a fan, we have to be we have to be smarter. We have to be smarter in not clicking the bait.
Yeah,
like, we cannot click. We
have to recognize that.
We cannot click the bait. Like I understand wholeheartedly that you will rep the brand. I saw that. I saw the video. I was like, I'm not going to quote tweet this. I'm telling you, it's Viacom CBS Sports, the company that I work for.
Yeah, I
should be retweeting it,
promoting that. Yeah,
for the brand. But I did not retweet over it. I did one of those subtweets.
Yeah.
I feel like it's almost like I know better than that.
Absolutely. You didn't take the bait, man.
I work in media. I mean, let's look at some of these comments here.
Yeah.
Jason Sparks, he says, I really thought when Doug started to go for it on fourth down, it would change the way coaches thought about going for it, but it didn't. I think Dougie P actually did that Super Bowl run was all about fourth downs. Like look at the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Philly special.
Yeah. The
fourth down to Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
There were so many damn plays that he was going for it ridiculously. I think the next year after that, it got a little.
Not even just that game as well, but like you look at just how we stomped out the Minnesota Vikings and the flea flicker and just how, man, I had never seen the link erupt like that before.
Let's see. Sam, shout out to Sam. Sam Wagner says Dougie takes way too much slander from national writers.
I agree with that.
From my LMAO, it's out of line. Jason Sparks, we are always going to be mad after the fumble recovery during the open kickoff of Dallas game.
Man, I still think about that. That was unbelievable.
The top 5 all have Super Bowl rings. Marcus was talking about the list that we just mentioned. The top 5 all have Super Bowl rings. Kyle was an OC for his. Yeah, it's just. I mean, like the dude in the video said, championships are. He's not counting championships. Like not counting. Like, how do you, as a head coach, that's how you count.
Right. That's probably the reason why Andy Reid would be number 2 on the list. Andy Reid got to so many damn NFC Championship games. Gets him up there.
Brigante. Hopefully we're saying it right. I saw you pronounce it. I got to go back and see the pronunciation. He says Andy Reid gave all to his city.
Yep.
Kansas City and Philadelphia.
He felt like he watched the Eagles win a Super Bowl after watching that.
Let's see here. What else we got here? No, I do think when it comes down to like Mike Tomlin, Pete Carroll, Brigante said, both are proven winners. Now, I think they're solid coaches, man. And you think about the jobs they've done over the years to be in the league this long, do what they've done, and to see even what Tomlin did last season with a roster that was had had some injuries, and they did a solid job. But I it's interesting to see. That I think the media has the Eagle fans' numbers. I feel like we as a nation have to get it together.
Yeah, well, I feel like we like you had mentioned, like we're kind of the target for writers. I feel like nationally, they know that how to get under Eagles fans' skin, and they know that we love to protect our own. So if you can kind of rile up the Eagles fan base, that'll definitely generate clicks for your company.
And do you want to know what Sean had to say about Eagle fans?
I would love to.
If I can bring it up. Like, the dude was getting heat. Like, I mean, he's a younger dude. He's just got to expect the smoke. I mean, if you don't want the smoke, then please. Sean, he says, let me blow that up for you. He said, Sean Wagner McGo says, Eagle fans doing a great job today, proving their national reputation is totally unfair and misleading. What a pleasant group of people who definitely wouldn't ever dare boo Santa Claus. I mean,
what a snore fest.
Not only did he try to dismiss us, but he also brought up Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
that's lazy journalism, man. I'm sorry, but that's lazy.
I think
go ahead.
They're fighting words now.
They are 100% fighting words. That or the batteries or anything. Like when you're bringing up stuff that happened half a century ago, and you're leaning on that as your point as to why we are the way that we are, like that's lazy.
Kevin Trump says guilty charge, baited ass. Kevin got baited. Looking at the chat, a couple more questions there. We'll knock out before we head on out.
Mm-hmm.
NFL fans. Shout out to Evan Rivera from Facebook. NFL is trying to get fans to sign a COVID waiver to get them to games. Just announced. How you feeling about that?
Yeah, I think that is probably something that the NFL's legal team has told them is a good idea. But I don't think that, like, I don't know what that means for me as far as attending. That seems kind of sketchy to me. I don't know what to feel about it. I feel like it's going to be hard enough as is to get a ticket to these games because they're going to have to open with limited capacity. And then, you got to sign the waiver. It feels like they are aware that this is a potentially dangerous environment.
Yeah.
And, I think they're kind of showing their hand at that. And I think you kind of just have to consider that if you have underlying health issues or something like that.
Not to make light of it, it's unfortunate that people out here are dealing with it.
Yeah.
I've had friends. I've had a friend who passed away from it, and
mm-hmm.
had a coworker who passed away from it. It's unfortunate, and it's like you're torn between your fandom of the Eagles,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, this is my lifestyle. This is part of what I do every day. To like, I take care of my, elder parents. So like, what do I do? Like,
exactly.
You're really putting yourself in a situation if you do go to these games. But NFL is very aware. If they're going to ask you to sign a waiver, they know it's real deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason Sparks, he says from Facebook, do you think after the draft in Philly and the way we handled ourselves during the Super Bowl parade nationally, we earned some respect from pundits?
I think so. I think that we that Super Bowl run and everything that came of it, I think kind of put us on the map in a good way. We've been in the cellar for so long as far as how other teams view us, how national pundits view us, how they write about us. And I feel like that was just the greatest run. And just remembering like all the little things, like the dune buggy being driven up the art museum steps, the guy with the eagle mask riding on top of the car. Just like all the little things. It gave Philadelphia this identity of just such a fun, celebrated town that like we really haven't had, but that Philadelphia has represented for so long, but hasn't been put on display on a national scale like that. So I think it was something that was really good to see. Yeah,
shout out to our boy Jagar, who ran into the.
Oh my God, that was so great! Yeah,
he got so much like press from that the Eagles sent him to London.
Yeah,
with his family. They did a story on him. The NFL did a story on him. Probably like beginning of last season.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was just a great ride overall. I think. It was just an amazing ride. That draft. I mean, we were there. Were you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. We smelled like sour cheese. We were sitting there like hours.
Yeah.
3 days straight. Like, bro, it was bad. I do think we brought the thunder and we got clout for sure.
We represented, right? Yeah. I still think of that one photo of the guy with his.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, the one photo of the. You remember all of the figures that were like the headless players, and then they had the Cowboys one. Some dude climbed up there and put his ass right in the face. It was fantastic.
We got a question from Evan. He says, "You think the Birds should sign Jadeveon Clowney?"
That's another one of those things that is our pockets deep enough? Oh, well, I would love to have him on the team. Is it fiscally responsible?
Yeah. Do we have Jadeveon Clowney money, or could they possibly finally get that Yannick deal set?
Yeah, that's been something that really fell on the back burner.
If you're getting a younger guy in a contract that's worthy of that,
yeah,
you know what I mean. Like Jadeveon,
either one of those guys are guys that you could build your D line around.
But are you going to be able to pay a Clowney year in? I mean,
yeah.
With his injuries and stuff, I think Yannick could be a better option. But let's see. Jeffrey Cross says, but the only thing the national media remembers is the guy eating horse poop.
I know. I thought about it and I didn't want to say it just because I know that's what a lot of people think of.
Yeah, let's see.
This is still going on? Didn't realize.
What, the questions?
No, it's Hearn Appreciation Week.
Dude.
Didn't realize it was still happening. You're
getting a lot of love in here in the chat, man.
Yeah, Brigante's got it right. That's what it comes down to is money, money, money. Obviously having a guy like Yannick or Clowney on your team would be ideal. It would be so great to inject that into our line. But as far as you got to weigh the financial element to that and whether or not.
And it's also like, if you think about Yannick, you can probably sign him to a longer deal and rework that cap.
Yeah.
You're bringing in Jadeveon. It's like 15 mil.
But Jason Sparks, he's still like, this is something that I don't think that players really consider this type of thing. I think if Jadeveon Clowney were to somehow find a way on this roster, I don't think there would be bad blood between him and Carson. I think it ultimately is just it's football, man. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, shout out to Willie from Melbourne. He's a big tailgater, well traveled. If you don't know this man, you should link up with him for
check him out. Yeah.
It's interesting that this, Willie popping up. All the fans that travel to come to see Eagles games, this is like part of their yearly tradition. The fact that they can't come, they might not be able to come.
They can't make that pilgrimage, yeah.
If they do come all the way over here and potentially have to sign a waiver and then potentially get COVID, talk about a vacation.
You're not kidding, man. You're not kidding. And then, who knows if there's some sort of if they want you to quarantine for a certain amount of time before you can even. You might have to get to America 2 weeks early and then quarantine and then go to the game. Yeah,
Brigante makes a good point. Yeah, we got like $20 million this year, but we're in debt for the next 2 years. I think we're gonna have to start paying those bills, man.
Yeah,
credit card bills are building up.
You don't want to end up like the Saints, who they're going to be paying out the nose for Drew Brees.
Oh, it's going to be interesting when we start losing players.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think it's very important that we do continue to draft well. I think if the Eagles feel like Josh Sweat could be potentially something, this is the year.
Because you really need to
see what Josh Sweat is.
And this is the other side of it. You don't end up picking up Clowney, he could end up going to a place in the division. And we talk about, you imagine if we're dealing with Chase Young and Jadeveon Clowney twice a year. Or that'd be 4 times between the two teams.
I'm telling you, man. It's an interesting tidbit there.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I think there's no more questions in the chat.
Yeah.
I think it's we're already over time here. Evan, how are you feeling? You have any last words for the viewers out there?
just thank you guys again for checking in. We really appreciate you guys, contributing a part of the conversation, being a part of the show. I really like the setup that we got going on. You guys engaging with us, and I think it's really interactive, very good, and looking forward to doing more of it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I think we did a solid job. I think I tried not to be such a homer. I don't feel I was, but Evan,
I don't think you were either. Yeah, I wasn't.
You stated your case well.
I did.
But I feel like down the road we have some interesting content coming up down the road. Wanted to give a shout out to all the people that are going to be involved. A lot of the writers are going to be involved. A lot of contributors are going to be involved. Our next project is called Talk the Roster, where we break down mostly. We're going to try and get every guy on the roster somehow, some way. We're going to be breaking down every single dude on this roster and looking at them as if we were our own GM. So it's going to be really interesting. You're going to hear a lot of tidbits of information you don't know about some of the players on your own roster. It should be some funny stuff in there as well, but also some breakdowns of the players. Our first player up the bat will be Carson Wentz.
The number one ginger in the division.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Andy.
Our favorite ginger in the NFC East. But we'll be dropping that soon. But we just wanted to say thank you for stopping by and joining the Eagles chat. And we'll be doing this fairly soon.
Take care. Go Birds.
And fly, Eagles. Fly.